Hello, welcome to Levant TV Headlines. The Syrian government has accused Israel of launching a series of airstrikes on the outskirts of Damascus as a UN report documented strong ties between Israel and militant groups fighting in Syria. Canada has joined Britain in closing its embassy in Cairo to the public for security reasons, with neither country providing details about any specific threat. Qatar has altered its bid to broker the release of Lebanese soldiers and policemen captured by Islamic militants, saying its efforts had failed after one of the captives was killed. And in Tunisia, Monsef Marzouki and Beji Qaid Essebsi will face off on December 21st in Tunisia's second round of presidential voting to decide who leads the nation that sparked the Arab Spring. And the UN Refugee Agency says 21 bodies have been recovered after Yemen reported dozens of Ethiopian migrants drowning when their boats sank near the entrance of the Red Sea. Now let's have a look at top headlines in today's newspapers in the Middle East. Starting with the UAE, the Khalij Times leads reporting that Saudi Arabia says it has arrested 135 suspects for terrorism offences after the kingdom's participation in airstrikes against ISIS group raised concerns about possible retaliation. The paper also reports that an official security source said the female suspect arrested in connection with the murder of an American school teacher in a mall in Abu Dhabi last week acted on her own and had no links with terror organizations or political parties. And from Beirut, the Daily Star leads reporting that Parliamentary Speaker Nabih Berri says Israel is overtly stealing Lebanon's underwater oil and gas reserves off the coast of South Lebanon as the government remains distracted over the issue of its kidnapped soldiers and policemen held by jihadi militants. The paper also reports that MP Ahmed Fatfat says no date has been scheduled to kickstart the future Hezbollah dialogue after media reports speculated that the talks might not begin before next year. And The Independent in Egypt leads reporting that November saw a surge in protests by various political and activist factions, most prominently demonstrators critical of the current regime, standing at a total of 236 protests, according to a monthly report by an Egypt-based human rights network. The paper also reports that Pope Tawadarius II of Alexandria said he prefers to separate boys and girls in the preparatory and secondary stage at school, a stage where children grow psychologically and spiritually. Now let's have a look at top MidEast headlines from papers in London. The Guardian leads MidEast News reporting that a coalition of 36 international organizations is calling on rich countries to resettle tens of thousands of Syrian refugees within their borders, saying the immediate neighbors of the war-ravaged country can no longer bear the burden of one of the worst crises of displaced people since the Second World War. The Independent leads MidEast News reporting that Syria has accused Israel of carrying out airstrikes near its capital that have inflicted widespread damage. Sana, the Syrian state news agency, said Israel bombed targets near Damascus' international airport as well as the town of Damascus, northwest of the capital, describing the attack as an aggression against Syria, but said there were no reported casualties. Also from the UK, The Telegraph reports that Britain's decision to open a major naval base in Bahrain, despite concerns over the country's human rights record, has been met with protests by opposition groups and human rights activists. Hundreds of protesters were filmed marching through the town of Sitra, a Shia opposition stronghold, calling for the removal of the British ambassador Ian Lindsay after the decision was announced. And now international papers. The International New York Times reports that the year 2014 has been one of the worst on record for the worst children. The United Nations said in a report that chronicled a litany of the war, violence, atrocities and disease, mostly in the Middle East and Africa. The report said up to 15 million children are directly entangled in violent conflicts in Iraq, the Palestinian territories, South Sudan, Syria and Ukraine. And finally, Germany's Deutsche Welle reports that authorities in South Africa have expressed their sadness over the death of Pierre Koki in a failed rescue attempt in Yemen after US forces have tried to free Koki and US journalist Luke Summers from their Al-Qaeda captors. The South African government issued a statement saying it had also undertaken numerous attempts to secure their citizens' release from Al-Qaeda kidnappers. And for more updates, please visit levant.tv. Thanks for watching and bye for now.